o'clock. Hi. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is Tuesday, October 19th, a beautiful sunny day in downtown Cleveland, Ohio, in the CL and Conley Council Chambers on the fourth floor of the Cuyahoga County headquarters, our headquarters. We have 2 o'clock coming, so we have to get moving on our agenda. Ms. Simon is on her way. Roll call, please.
And just as a reminder to all who are watching and in attendance that this meeting is being live streamed and recorded. Calling the roll, Mr. Gallagher.
Here.
Ms. Conwell.
Present.
Mr. Tuma is absent. Mr. Jones.
Here.
Ms. Simon is absent at the moment. There is a quorum.
Public comment?
No, Mr. Chair, no one is signed in.
Thank you. In your packets, we have the minutes of October 5th. If they're in order, I'll accept the motion and a second.
So moved.
Second. Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Against? Thank you. Resolution 2021-0235.
Resolution number 2021-0235, making awards on requisition number 4810 to various providers in the total amount not to exceed $1,720,659.34 for trauma-informed respite and youth care center services.
Good afternoon, Sarah Baker with Juvenile Court.
Good afternoon.
We did issue an RFP for this project for our, what we are now calling our youth care centers. This is what used to be called our shelter care contract. We issued an RFP back in January of this year, and it closed back in February. We had 4 vendors that applied, and we chose the 3 that are listed here: Raven House, Life's Right Direction, and Lutheran Metropolitan Ministry. We are funding this project 45% out of our levy budget and 55% out of our reclaim budget. And I also have with me Bridget Gibbons, Director of our Programming Department, to kind of give you a brief synopsis of what this program actually entails and what it will be doing for our youth population.
Thank you. Bridget?
Good afternoon. We are grateful to talk about this program. It's something we have been kind of kicking around and thinking about for a couple of years of how to reduce population from secure detention in a trauma-informed way. So when we released the RFP, we decided to shift from what we historically have contracted with, which was larger congregate care settings, and move into a smaller youth-centered, community-based group home settings. So we were hoping that we would get responses, and Raven House will service our girls. Life's Right Direction will service boys, and Lutheran Metropolitan Ministries can serve both boys and girls at a much lower capacity. How these will function is they're smaller, more trauma-informed group home settings, so they won't have 30 youth in them that can all get into trouble together. So there will be higher staff to youth ratios, more home-like settings, more trauma-informed training for the staff. The youth who were brought here will be under the arrest of a law enforcement official. They will be processed through what we presented last week with our Early Intervention and Diversion Center, where our Applewood clinicians will meet police over on Daisy Avenue. They'll triage the youth, make sure the youth has clear medical clearance. At that point in time, our providers through our youth care centers will come and meet our Daisy House staff and pick the youth up from there and bring them back to the group home. So the purpose of this really is to have a more home-like, trauma-informed response to youth outside of the detention center that do not raise to the level of a detention center in mission, but are in crisis, whether it's a family crisis or an individual crisis that they need an alternative to detention setting. So that's really what we're hoping to get out of this. We're grateful that our providers are going to be providing 24/7 reception. So if a youth is arrested at 1 a.m., our providers all agreed to come and pick the youth up and bring them back to their facility, care for them until the youth are arraigned the following morning. After arraignment, hopefully, if all goes well, the youth can return home. If not, they can go back to the youth care centers to have their services there instead of in secure detention. So it really is to replace our old general shelter care contract and to provide a more trauma-responsive intervention for these youth in crisis.
So they're processed, triaged, then if they qualify, they're moved to the various homes. Where are they located? Do we know?
Yeah, so Raven's house is on the east side. I don't have the exact address, but just give me 1 second, I can grab that. I know Life's Right Direction is in University Heights. And Lutheran Metropolitan Ministries is over on Western Avenue in Cleveland. My team did tour each facility, sat down in living rooms, talked extensively with the providers, and went through each facility. I can give you the exact. We do have those on the.
That's not necessary. That's good. Questions from the committee, and welcome, Ms. Simon.
Through the chair to Ms. Baker, are these youth involved in misdemeanors or felony charges or both?
They can be either.
Yes, sir. Are they taken from homes as well, or?
So not direct, if the offense happened in the home and requires a removal by a law enforcement official, they could be. Yep,
Law enforcement component is what?
that's the key.
What is the age range of the children?
So generally, probably 12 to 17 is the targeted age range. Because these are smaller facilities, we could go lower, but we would really try not to take anyone below the age of 12 out of their home.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Through the chair to Ms. Baker, how many beds in each home?
So what we're going to do, because we're not the only referring agency, so our child welfare partners and other county child welfare partners sometimes utilize the beds also. What we're going to do is a weekly capacity report. Life's Right Direction actually has 2 houses. And so right now they are open to opening up their second house just to our juvenile court referral youth for the boys. But what we're going to have to do is every vendor will send us a weekly capacity report saying we have this many beds so that our Daisy House mental health clinicians can just know exactly who to call in that moment to say, we have a boy here in need of your services, and we'll be able to facilitate the referrals. So LMM has a very small capacity. It's about 3 beds. Life's Right Direction, and the other, for girls, it's probably about 5 beds at any given day. But based on our historical referrals to general shelter care, that's about what our needs would be. And again, Life's Right Direction is willing to take a look at dedicating an entire house to our youth. It's just a question of whether or not we'll need that capacity.
Yeah, and that was, that's one of my concerns about the east side and the Western Avenue one. So we don't want to mix children that are involved in the law with the other children that might not have been.
Yeah. Generally, for youth that are removed from the home, have sort of both feet in both doors. You know, they already have a history of child welfare involvement or are involved with child welfare and now have criminal offenses. We call those our crossover youth. They come from child welfare into the juvenile justice system. In an ideal world, we would be able to separate the two, but I think our stays are going to be pretty short-lived for our juvenile court referrals because we do try to move them along quickly, whereas child welfare's needs of placement are a little bit longer term than ours because we do have homes to return them back to, and we will work to expedite that process as much as possible.
Yes, sir.
How long do the children typically stay in the?
So, right, so it could be anywhere from 12 hours, 24 hours to a couple months if their process is taking a long time through the courts and we're really struggling to secure placement, whether if we're going to be looking at a residential placement, that would be your long stayers. In general, it's just going to be between 24 hours to a couple weeks.
Do they transition from there back home, or are they going to, like you said, residential treatment?
For the short stayers, most of them transition back home as soon as we can get treatment services involved, whether it's family-centered treatment, some type of in-home, some type of wrap services for the family. They'll go right back to mom or dad or grandparents, whoever has custody of them. For those that are looking at residential placement, those are the ones that tend to stay a little bit longer because we're working with ourselves, if we're the placing agency, or child welfare to secure another residential placement option.
I Googled it quickly. It says 9349 Gaylord for Raven House
That's correct.
off of Harvard.
And they're lovely individuals. We were really excited about that program because they have that very family-based, this is our home, you know, we're excited to work with these youth, very community-based involvement. So we're very excited about that.
Residential street. This is actually a
Yes,
home.
it's
Someone's
a
actual
home. Yeah, and it feels like a home. You sit in there, you're talking to them, it's much more family-oriented than congregate care settings.
And tell me again if I missed it during your introduction. This is an RQ. What was the motivation for making an RQ?
So the motivation really was that we were taking a look at our general our general shelter care, and just had just concerns about that many kids in one place. I did a little research on like LA County models where they do what they call, what do they call them? I can't remember, healing centers. I thought Cleveland, probably healing centers would be a little bit of a tougher sell, so we called it the youth care centers. So we really designed it off of the LA County model to keep kids close to home, keep kids based in their communities where healing and restoring can take place without institutionalizing them or criminalizing their behavior. Yes, it's a delinquent offense, but we really try to look at the underlying needs that led to that delinquent behavior and address the need, not the deed, as much.
Gotcha. How many children do you expect to help over the course of the contract?
That's a great question. Above 50 to 100, maybe. It's gonna, this being the first year, it's always hard to tell. Sometimes referrals are slow to start, and then they pick up and we have to expand capacity. So we're still trying to work through that right now with our team and just try to follow the data of what kinds of kids will really need this. But when we did shelter care, you know, we were hovering between like 15 to 30, 30 being the very high end a day. One of the silver linings of COVID is we've reduced the number of kids that are placed out of the home. So, but we have a lot of kids that need the support.
I take it when the children are there, do they get it depends on how long they're there, but do they tend to go to school in the same school district where
Yeah, they'll transport to their home school districts.
go back to their original home, not
Yeah, depending on how long they're there for. If they're only there for, 24 to 48 hours, we'll get packets and bring them back to them. If they're longer stayers, they could be transported back to their home school district to go to school, picked up and brought back to the facility.
okay. All right, thank you.
Ms. Simon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a question about the outcome statistics from LA County for their healing centers. When you did your research, did you take a look to see what the outcomes were with recidivism and that type of thing?
No, I actually didn't pull the recidivism
Okay.
on those. I was more interested in kind of what is the process to create a more trauma-responsive, family, community-based program. But I could take a look into that.
In your spare time, and you can report, I'm sure you'll come back to us too and let us know how it's going, hopefully,
Absolutely.
at some point through the contract.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Are the school systems made aware of the challenges of these children?
So once our probation officers are involved, our probation officers work pretty closely with the schools that the youth is assigned to. So schools get pretty accustomed to youth that are involved in our system. Our school, we do meetings with the schools. Oftentimes our probation officers are involved in IEP meetings or discipline meetings for youth to try to figure out how to work. I would say the juvenile justice system has moved much more towards a systems approach, and the schools are a big part of the youth system. So our POs do work closely with the system, and if we put a therapy involved, our mental health clinicians are in the schools working side by side with the schools on the youth that are in our programs.
It is the probation officer who actually has the interaction with the school system.
Yeah, alongside of the parents. Absolutely. We, that's a big piece, is keeping the family at the table, having the family sort of steer the bus and drive the bus, and then the POs are there to support them.
Anything further? Seeing none, if the committee's comfortable, I see by dates that you want to move this. So if the committee is comfortable, I'll accept the motion for Resolution 2021-0235 to the full council at the next meeting under suspension.
Second.
Second.
I have motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Thank you, ladies.
Thank you. Have a great one.
Good luck. 2021-0236.
Resolution number 2021-0236, making an award on requisition number 6987 to Schwartz Uniform Corporation in the amount not to exceed $875,000 for furnishing uniforms for Cuyahoga County Correction Officers.
Welcome.
Laura Sims from the Sheriff's Fiscal Office.
Again,
Laura Sims from the Sheriff's Fiscal Office.
thank you.
And this is a contract, 3-year contract to provide uniforms to the jail staff that's required by the union contracts. It's the same as, similar to what we've had for the last 3 years. We put the bid out twice for a formal bid, and both attempts, we only had one eligible vendor, which is the one who's been selected. And what we found is that the prices actually have not gone up, so they're about the same from last time.
Okay. Questions? Hearing none and looking at the dates, we have a little time, but is there a need to move this under suspension of rules, or can you wait?
Well, we can wait long as we can make sure that it's ready to go as of January 1st, because we're required to make sure that because the current contract expires at the end of this year, so we need to make sure that the next one's ready to go. So if we have time, then that's fine. If not, then
We do, but, you know, I'll let the committee decide under an abundance of caution, maybe just move this along. What would say the committee? We good with that? So if we're good with that, I'll accept Resolution 2021-0236 to the full council under suspension of the rules at the next meeting.
Second.
Get a motion and a second?
Discussion?
Wait, was it a
Oh,
motion
do
you
you have
made?
further discussion?
You what? He made a
Did I hear,
motion?
did you say how many uniforms this would be?
Oh,
this is for all the COs, all the COs, the sergeants, the corporals, lieutenant, everybody.
How often does this, no, till 2024, and you'll need to do it again?
Correct. We'll put it out again. And yeah, like I said, we put it out twice for a formal bid to see if we get additional. After the first one, we only got one, so we did a second effort. Again, this is the only bidder, and their prices have not gone up since last time, too.
And I know you said all. By all, is that enough to cover 550 officers, 650?
So when we put out the bid, the specifications at the time were for 346 males, 302 females, 25 sergeants, 5 SRT sergeants, 42 correction corporals, 5 SRT corporals, 5 lieutenants. And that there's also some big and tall sizes in there too that we have to provide for as well.
Close to 700.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and you know, obviously with the jail and the administrator can speak at this as well. It's kind of, it's trying to hit a moving target because we never have full FTE at any one time. So we may provide some, and we'll have somebody there for 6 months, and they quit, and then we have to get new uniforms, so it varies.
Hiring at a rate, so in your last contract, how many uniforms did you actually have to purchase or provide? When people were quitting and more people were being
I
hired?
don't know the total number of the uniforms, but what I
These
can
700.
tell you is that the amount that we have for a contract, that we based it off our average cost from the last 3 years for this, to be able to make sure that, you know, based on what we've been providing for the last 3 years, that's how we did the costing for this one. but the total number, I don't know for sure.
But clearly, it's enough money.
Yes,
Contract is enough. Okay.
correct.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
How many uniforms are purchased per employee?
So it varies depending on their contract, but for the most part, it's 3 sets per year.
Every year?
Correct.
So is this contract covered for 2 or is it for 1?
This is a 3-year contract.
3-year, okay, all right. Thank you.
Any further discussion?
Mr. Chair, I'll make that motion that you asked me to make.
Thank you, and I believe we had the motion on the table, motion, and do I have a second?
So,
Motion properly second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Against? Thank you very much, ladies. Miscellaneous business? Hearing none. We're adjourned. See you at 2 o'clock.